here and do that. And Sam's like, that's stupid. And then he would turn around. He's like, okay, guys, what we're going to do here is this Dutch angle. And he would look at the crafty table and be like, guys, I slaved away all night for you guys. You're not eating this? What's going on? So and he wore a suit and tie every day to work. He always had a tie. And you know what? You know how I know people like this movie, liked working on this movie, David?
Why?
Liam Neeson came back for an interview for the Scream Factory Blu-ray. Frances McDormand came back for the oral history. So normally when you get these movies and these oral histories and the star doesn't come back or do any interviews, I know they could be busy, but it seemed like they went out of their way to be there for this movie's 30th anniversary.
Yeah. So before we go any further, I need to apologize to our listeners because you can hear sirens flying down our street coming to take us away because of our bad opinions about movies. What's really happening is I live close to a fire station, and apparently there's a fire somewhere nearby. So if you hear that in the background, just ignore it.
Also, it's cold in New York right now, so if you hear a heater.
Yes. That's I live in a one-bedroom apartment with my partner, and we are doing our best to get through this, but it's a very small amount of space.
So David's bundled up right now. He's suffering for the show, which I really appreciate you doing here. But hey, before we go on break, since we've talked about this movie, do you want to do our top 5 favorite moments from this movie?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
So I guess I can start.
Okay.
So I think the most beautiful thing about this movie is, so in the beginning, you have we meet Eddie Black, a rival crime boss, and he's in a warehouse and he's talking to all of his people. And Durant and his crew come up for a meeting. And Durant and his crew, they get frisked for weapons and guns and everything. But while they're being frisked, somebody pulls out nunchucks. And
I knew you were going to talk about this.
Drops it on the ground. So, like, someone brought nunchucks to a gang gunfight. And it's just such a gag, and it's so funny and random that it puts you onto the tone of the movie almost immediately when you realize that why does he have nunchucks? And it gets you on the wavelength almost immediately. So that's my number 1 or 5, whatever.
No, that's amazing. I saw that moment, and I knew you were going to talk about it. Like from moment 1, this movie, it feels like an homage to golden era comic books, pulp movies, not pulp movies, pulp books, and then radio serials, but just in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. There was like a period, maybe we've talked about this, but all those movies and all those things that happened in the early 40s had a revival in the mid 90s.
The Shadow, the
Phantom. I'm going to say Rocket Man, but Rocket Man was made in the 80s, but it was a pastiche to the 90s. This movie, which I would have never thought of until I recently saw it. Everyone was really obsessed with the 40s for a bit.
Yeah, and like Rocketeer.
Mm-hmm.
This one had that vibe. And, oh man, what was your favorite out of all those?
Yeah, that's a great question. I absolutely adore Rocket Man.
Rocketeer?
The Rocketeer. Yeah, it's a fantastic movie.
It's beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it's a great film. I believe you've covered it.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I really want to see a remake to or a sequel. I want to see it done again. It's just very, very good.
Bruce Campbell almost got that role.
Yeah, this is gonna sound funny. I kind of dig The Phantom because I am a Billy Zane fan.
The Phantom's fun. Treat Williams is a blast. The production design is fun. It's silly. James Remar is never bad.
Yeah. What about you? What's your favorite?
Oh, Rocketeer. But if I had to watch them over and over, I would put on Darkman.
Yeah. I mean, would you do The Iron Giant, which is clearly in this vein?
Man, that's not fair because it's so good.
I've never seen it.
Oh, Iron Giant's it's beautiful, but it tugs on you. So I wouldn't watch it all the time. I would put this on before I put on anything else because Rocketeer, like Jennifer Connelly's great in that. No, man. This one's the shortest, so I'll just put this one on.
Okay. All right. So let me do my number 5. My number 5 is sticking Ricky's head up through the grates and having him get hit. It's just so wacky.
And
it's terrifying, but also like it looks really funny.
Ricky gave him the information too.
Yeah.
And then he kills him.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. We keep calling this a superhero movie. At this point, it's not a superhero movie. If this is a revenge flick.
This is more old boy.
Yeah. This is just someone out to murder people who happens to have some superpowers. Much more anti-hero. Not even anti-heroes. Like, all right, so with superheroes, typically you would have a secret identity, a costume of some sort that's easily recognizable, and some type of mission, typically a moral mission. In this case, it's not a moral mission. He's just out there just getting revenge. He doesn't care about all the crime. He only cares about saving, Julie.
Yeah. There's no moral mission to this. It's murder.
Yeah, except at the end, then it feels like he's like, you know what? Now I'm going to save the rest of the city, whatever nameless city they're in.
I guess you got to get that off your chest first.
Yeah, but it's a good scene. And it feels like Batman take it up a notch, you know what I mean? Like the 89's Batman's like kind of dark, but it's still a PG-13 movie. And this is what someone who's really screwed up would actually do.
That's a great point. This guy's really screwed up. And this is what he would actually do. Wow, I dig it. That's a great point. I love, I mean, it's a great, he just murders that dude after he gives him info. So I'm going to drop my number 4. I think it's when the fake leg gets pulled off of the guy
so good.
to murder all of Eddie Black's henchmen. So they frisk all their weapons, but then they pull a fake leg machine gun with about 7,000 bullets in it and just start murdering all the henchmen. But the best part for me comes by later on when the guy is still he's trying to get his balance and he's hopping up in the background and the henchman just puts his arm out. The other long-haired henchman puts his arm out and the guy just grabs onto it to stable himself. It's just a little touch, a little gonzo, funny touch, wacky touch. And in the first 5 minutes of this movie, you know almost what you're watching. After all the fingers get cut off too. Oof. But no, I love that scene. Where he just puts his arm out and the guy balances himself on it. It's perfect. It
felt very Dick Tracy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like very Dick Tracy, and I appreciate that. So my number 4, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but this feels like a screw you to the Batman movie 1989. Because it's just like you want to go dark, I'll go dark. This is what actually a dark superhero movie is.
Yeah, no, it is.
Really. I love Batman 89. I absolutely think it's a fantastic movie, but this is definitely much more like this is what Bruce Wayne would kind of be like. He's on a mission for revenge.
It's gone insane and just murdering people.
I mean, Bruce Wayne is insane. He is a broken human being.
That's why Keaton's the best, right? Do you think that's why Keaton's the best? Because he just waits around being called to go murder people, and
he hangs upside down like a bat, and he's not all there.
Remember with the Joker, you want to mess around, or what does he say? You want to get crazy?
Crazy.
Yeah, he's still my favorite. I don't like a rational Batman murdering people. Like I want a crazy person going around waiting to be called. Oh. All right, so that was your 4th?
Yeah.
All right, so me. Okay, we've already talked about this, but I'm going to say that random Rick, I'm proud of you moment. So after Rick murders the lab assistant and they're walking out, Durant just goes, "Hey man, I'm proud of you," and that was ad-libbed by Larry Drake. So as he was leaving, he wanted to have a weird father-son relationship, or maybe he liked Ricky, so he was proud of him. But it's just, Rick, I'm proud of you. It's just, you have a secondary henchman saying to his henchman, "I'm proud of you," after murdering a lab assistant, and it just makes me laugh because it's just so random.
It's good, and it makes you like the characters a little bit more.
Yep.
So my number 3 is the special effects and cinematography. So I hadn't seen this movie in a very long time. So when I watched this, I was quasi blown away from how interesting the special effects were and how much they reminded me of reading a comic book.
Beautiful. Just
yeah.
They still look good today because everything's in camera. And some of it's green screened, like the helicopter bits. But they also picked the dude up. Every time that they took a guy up on the helicopter, that stuntman would refuse to do it again. So they had to keep finding new stuntmen to drag around on a helicopter.
That sounds terrifying. I mean, I was actually thinking about that when I was watching it. And I was like, this looks very unsafe compared to other things I've seen.
Hundreds of PAs were hired to just lock down downtown. So
Wow.
they had hundreds. They had a truck full of walkie-talkies. And I've been in charge of walkie-talkies on film sets. That'd be the worst job in the history of the planet because they're all so expensive. Oh, all right. So my number 2 is the elephant moment. Take the damn elephant. When he wants to win her an elephant and his just temper gets away from him. And just the way the camera shoots and they frame it like almost a horror picture with just the tilted angles, you walk in with the Steadicam right up into the guy's face. Just the heightened aesthetic of it all. It's very carnival, old school carnival, freaky. And it just shows that he's losing his mind, the character. And he's trying, but he just can't. He's realizing at that point that he can't have a relationship because he's already murdered, he's already killed, he's just gone. And the way they play it is just so gonzo and perfect and weird and not mainstream. So that's my number 2.
To piggyback on that discussion, when I saw that scene, one of the things that stuck out to me was he has 99 minutes and he's like, okay, we're going to go on a date for 99 minutes, which is terrible, right? He's like, we're going to do all the rides, I'm going to win you some stuff, and then I'm going to dip out of here as fast as possible.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's such a bad idea. He hasn't figured it out yet. He's bad at it now. He's naive, too. And that's what also makes it interesting, right? He hasn't figured it out yet. But he wants to get her back, but he hasn't thought it through because he can't really think things through because he's kind of gone crazy. Yeah.
Okay, my number 2, and this is sort of a general theme here, is I love how beleaguered Darkman is, and just like he's like he can't believe things are happening to him, and I think that's exemplified when he's like, "You gotta be shitting me!" like the helicopter and all the people are attacking his base. I laughed out loud when that happened.
Oh man, he doesn't know what he's doing yet.
Yeah. You gotta be shitting me.
Oh, man.
So good.
Also, when he starts killing the henchmen in his lab, it's like a horror movie. He swaps their faces, he gets them killed, he dives out of nowhere, there's masks.
Yeah, and it kind of... He doesn't need to do all that stuff, like when he dresses up as the other guy just to screw with him.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't have to do any of it, but it's just so bonkers, and I love it. And, yeah, it's perfect. You gotta be shit. Oh, it's perfect. All right, so my number 1 is just seeing Bruce at the end, Bruce Campbell. It's That's just, It makes me sad that I never got to see it, but I just love seeing Bruce Campbell in movies, and he looks pretty rakish in this shot. He looks pretty chinned, so I just seeing him in there made me happy. So I love a good Bruce cameo. That's my number 1.
The final shimp is great. My number 1, and we talked about this already, is Darkman wearing a photo dancing for a cat. It is one of the wildest things I have ever seen, but I think it really helps the film. It shows how unstable he is, and it is off-putting within the film, but you need it. It works very well for the character arc.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. It's amazing, and the wide shot that they do, like it's art. The way they framed it. You know that beam of light that comes into his lab? They just ripped the air conditioner off the ceiling, and that's how they kind of figured it off, which makes me happy. But no, it looks beautiful. It's weird. It's gonzo, and it's what the movie is. It's a movie. That's why I love Keaton's Batman. That's why I love this. That's why I love Unbreakable. He doesn't go crazy, but I like the weird aspects, the learning, the insanity, they're new at this. They're figuring it out. I don't know. I dig it all. It's cool. All right, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then we come back. We will talk more Darkman. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And I have an interesting thing we're going to do here. We're going to talk about more Darkman, as we always do. But since you're on the show, David, I want us to do a fun, quick draft real fast, in which we pick superheroes from movies that are not like comic book superhero movies. Does that make sense? So Darkman was not based on a comic book, but yet it's in parentheses, quote unquote, a superhero movie.
Yes.
So we pick characters from non-comic book, quotation mark, superhero movies, or, regular movies. I have a couple of weird things I'm going to ask you about. and we'll put together a super squad of superheroes from non-comic book movies.